And we're back. Once again, I'm Bennett Campbell Ferguson, your host for The Healthy Orange, and this is the third part in my series about my favorite films of the 2000s. Today, I'm going to be talking about the third, fourth, and fifth Harry Potter films, and hopefully illuminating some new territory as far as film criticism goes. You see, one thing that I absolutely despise is how whenever any critic talks about the Harry Potter film series, they tend to focus on the idea of it as a phenomenon, as something that people are just enraptured by across the world. And that's absolutely true. They are. But what I think the really interesting thing is not the popularity of the series, but the craft and filmmaking and artistic integrity that allowed it to come to life. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So for those of you who don't know, Harry Potter was originally a book series, a 7-part series by J.K. Rowling, about Harry, a boy wizard, who's an orphan and then ultimately finds friends and his destiny as a great wizard at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where he's trained to use and control his magical powers. Now, initially, the film series got off to, I'm hesitant to say terrible, but I would think it's fair to say it got off to a less than satisfactory start with in the early 2000s. Chris Columbus's films, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now, these films were watchable, but at best syrupy and saccharine and sincere in a way that felt really fake. The books were entertaining and human and moving, and the early films, those first two, they didn't feel honest. They didn't feel truthful. They felt like children's movies in the worst way possible. But in 2004, Alfonso Cuarón, who of course also would go on to make Children of Men and Gravity, in 2004 he took over the series with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which suddenly made the story of Harry Potter into a tale that was worthy of being seen on screen, that developed beyond the book by taking advantage of the potential of showing magic and all these wondrous sights and sounds on film. So one really excellent example of this is that in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry's dealing a lot with the fact that he's an orphan, he's alone, his parents have been dead ever since he was a baby. And the movie goes into his isolation and his anguish, particularly in a really wonderful moment in the beginning when he's alone in his bedroom. But one of the interesting things is the film also shows how he transcends that orphan anguish through joyous experiences, primarily anything involving flying, because he loves being in the air. So, to personify this idea, Mr. Cuarón, working with screenwriter Steve Kloves and his incredible crew, especially cinematographer Michael Saracen, they together they looked at this scene in the book where Harry flies over Hogwarts on this winged creature called a hippogriff. And in the book, it was a very brief little thing, and we get a little bit of inner monologue where Harry whines about how uncomfortable the hippogriff was. But Mr. Cuarón in the film plays the scene completely differently. He expands it and turns it into an expression of the joy that Harry experiences when he's flying. So we get this terrific first shot with Harry first riding the hippogriff as it takes off, and the drums of John Williams' magnificent score are pounding, and Harry's freaking out about being on this strange creature. But then he soars above the trees, and the music becomes more graceful, and we see the look on his face as he begins to enjoy being so far above the school, so far above the forest and all his classmates. And this flying sequence is to communicate Harry's joy. Mr. Cuarón shows us all these really beautiful details, like as they fly over this lake, the hippogriff's claws can be seen lightly dragging in the water. And just the overall beauty of moments like that, along with Harry's whoop of joy as he spreads his arm wide, soaring into the wind, all of that works together to show what a wondrous experience this is for him, and how it's helping him move beyond his grief and feel something wondrous again. And the cool thing is that the movie does all this by diverging from the book, not by betraying it, but by taking something that was in there and using it to create meaning, by expanding it and creating a new interpretation that still speaks thematically to what makes the book so wonderful in the first place.